What's up everyone, Tensei here, and today we are going to be having another look at the Speed Duel GX Box just announced a couple of days ago. And for this video, we will especially look at Jaden Yuki's cards. These are cards that he either used in the anime or cards that are related directly to his deck. So, yesterday I made a video on who I think will be in the box, so go check that out after this one if you're interested. But Jaden was already confirmed, so there's really no speculation about his inclusion, not to mention that he's the main character anyway. But to start things off, we have various different kinds of elemental hero monsters in the main deck. These are of course very iconic for the most part, especially the ones used in Season 1, with a couple exceptions like, well, Blazeman is from what's the pack? Some OCG pack and then imported later to the TCG. And then Ocean is from the manga, and Neo's Alias is a game original as well, and I think Captain Gold never made it into the anime either. But mostly these are, directly related to his anime cards anyway. I think that cards like Avian, Burstinatrix, Blade is probably, Bubbleman, Necroshade most likely, Sparkman and Wildheart are most likely going to be in. There's always a chance that they instead go for like Neo-Spatian focused stuff, which means that these cards might not get in, but I think it's more logical to include these first, and then maybe in a future set include Neo-Spatians. I was considering that there's chance that Konami just does a separate deck for these and another deck for Neo-Spatians, and both are in this box. That's possible due to the different cards that Jaden played and how many of them there are, but on the other hand, there's so many other characters they might want to include in this set rather, so I don't think that's too likely. A lot of these are normal monsters, of course. Nothing too special. Bubbleman could be used as tribute for. Well, no. I don't know. Maybe if you use like a Viral Despair, they can discard everything else in your hand, and then special Bubbleman draw 2. But that's kinda going like you discard 3 cards to draw 2. I don't really like that. Maybe in a late game. No, that sounds bad. Blazeman is kind of generic, it just adds poly for any deck. You could use it with anything else. Prisma reveals a fusion from your extra deck and sends 1 fusion material listed on it from your deck to the grave. And while this does help Elemental Hero and fixes the fusion materials you might need to get the specific fusion, you can use it in any deck, like Dark Paladin decks could get a consistency boost from it and another normal summon. It would compete with Breaker as a normal summon, but I think it's probably fine, especially with reinforcement of the army. Ocean, I don't know, it's from the manga, so it's not like super iconic for like anime fans, which this set partially at least focuses on. But I think it's like a good elemental hero card that's not overpowered and has been like actually used in the TCG, so I know that a lot of old players would recognize this and would like to use it in their decks most likely. Necroshade, you get to normal summon a big elemental hero monster once while it's in the graveyard with attributing. It's not special, but you need it for some fusions, but if they decide not to include any of the Necroshade fusions, they don't really need to introduce Necroshade either. It's not important outside of being a fusion material. Neo's Alias is a big beater, a 1900 basically normal monster, is a Gemini. I don't think Neo's is going to be like a big deal here, but this is just a beat stick and an elemental hero, so I don't know. Maybe he could be in here since it's not directly related to a Neo's based strategy. Sparkman's normal monster. Wildheart could be useful. It's unaffected by any trap effects, so you would dodge Nightmare Wheel, Widespread Ruin, potentially any other good normal trap, any trap cards that get added in this box. And of course it's a fusion material for stuff. Captain Gold adds Skyscraper. Unfortunately it can't add Skyscraper 2, but that's fine. It's a beater. Of course this dies without Skyscraper, so you can't just normal summon a 2100 beater without any downside. And well, yeah, there's Neos. As I said, I don't think Neos is going to get in the set, but since it's technically like Jaden's ace monster, I think there's a chance they just include it even without any of its fusions. But yeah, I don't think Neos is going to be a focus here. Probably you just like play Bladage if you need some like big beater. And Bladage has actual fusions you could actually use rather than Neos. For back row we have the 2 field spells. So Hero City has actually been competitively viable in the TCG. Once per turn reviving an elemental hero monster in your graveyard that was destroyed by battle previously. So this would kinda give you something similar to Magnetic Field. I don't know, it's a little weaker, of course it doesn't bounce anything like Magnetic Field, but also it doesn't need anything like, you don't need an elemental hero on the field already, it just works on its own as long as you have the grave set up for it. Yeah, you could probably get some actual value out of this card, and I don't think it's too unlikely to be in either. And then there's the original Skyscraper, which is a little worse, I guess. The downside here is that even though it gives 1000 attack to an attacking elemental hero that's weaker than your opponent's monster, it's actually not going to protect your guys from being destroyed by battle on your opponent's turn. But yeah, I mean, 1000 attack boost on Sparkman, sure, makes it 2600, which is bigger than any like 1 tribute monster like Shinzo or Kaiser Glider. So that, yeah, you could definitely use this if it gets in, and it's very classic for Jaden. I think one of these is most likely going to be in, if not both. Then, this is actually a very good card, and we can see it's limited in the TCG, and it's A Hero Lives. You pay half and special summon an elemental hero monster from your deck, as long as you control no face-up monsters already. This is a very good card, but it's mostly good if you can use it to add Shadow Mist or special summon Shadow Mist or Stratos, which frankly I don't believe that they would get in even without this. So I think this is fine, given the lack of very powerful targets that exist in the TCG. So yeah, Stratos could fit like thematically, but I think it's just too powerful. And Shadow Mist goes with the Mask Chain shenanigans, and I think that's just way unrelated. That's not going to get in this set. So yeah, none of those. Yeah, you can summon like Prisma, so you'd probably use this in like a fusion-centric deck with Prisma. It might still be too powerful, it gives you tribute fodder, and like, I don't know if you would play Shinzo in a hero deck, but this definitely gives you a chance to do it. It's potentially fine without the strongest targets that exist in the entire TCG OCG card pool. And then there's a set of 5 spell cards, Hero Flash, and the cards that it lists, which are H, Heated Heart, E, Emergency Call, R, Righteous Justice, and O, Oversoul. So these 5 spell cards are interesting. One issue that I have here is that E, Emergency Call, is not super strong on its own, you just add an elemental hero monster. But why I don't like it too much is because Reinforcement of the Army is at least currently still at 3 in Speed Duels, and having 3 Emergency Call and 3 Reinforcement of the Army sounds super consistent for a 20 card deck. And well, to be honest, if this gets in, I think A Hero Lives is very unlikely, but either one of these could maybe get in. The problem is potentially having both, especially with the cards that already exist in the card pool. Heated Heart is actually not hero support specifically, it just gives 500 attack to any monster and piercing. Righteous Justice is a good card. You get to destroy spell cards equal the number of elemental hero cards you control. So yeah, it's a themed way of just clearing all back row. But if you control more spells and traps than your opponent controls, you would have to destroy your own since it destroys an equal number. So keep that in mind if it does get added. And Oversoul just summons an elemental hero normal monster in your graveyard. It's kinda good with Neos, but also it's not huge. If Neos might not even get added, to be honest. And yeah, finally the Hero Flash. Well, you would need all of the other cards to make this viable. Like you can't activate it without them. But you get to special summon an elemental hero normal monster from your deck. And then all elemental hero normal monsters you currently control can attack your opponent directly this turn. Yeah. It's a powerful effect, but you need 4 specific cards in your graveyard. So it's not going to be like a turn 1, turn 2, probably maybe not even turn 4 thing. It's kind of hard to set up. If you can't summon Neos with it, as in if Neos is in the card pool, you get a 2500 direct attacker. And that is powerful, but yeah, you need to play Neos that's super bad to draw. Under the assumption that we don't get like, well yeah, even the Neos deck doesn't want to exactly draw it, you just dump it with Prisma or special summon with any Neo support. So yeah, I don't know. This is probably fine. I think this is a fun way to make heroes like interesting, although there's always a chance that you just go with fusions and ignore gimmicky, bricky cards like Hero Flash. But it's fun. Definitely fun. And we have 2 more specifically hero spells. Fifth Hope is a themed avarice. You get to target 5 elemental heroes, shuffle them to the deck and draw 2. But if you had an empty hand and an empty field, you get to draw 3 instead. So yeah, it's not too special. We have Jar of Avarice. Yeah, sure, this could sometimes draw 3. But it's locked into one deck and needs more setup really than Jar of Avarice. Yeah, it's not an issue. I think it would fit just perfectly. Gives more of a grind game too. And this is maybe the most questionable spell, at least like when you don't look at the other cards that I don't think really are going to get in later on. Miracle Fusion. Lets you fusion summon an elemental hero by banishing materials from your field or grave. And maybe if we don't get many fusions, or if the fusions that we get are like weak enough, maybe this could be a power play similar to how Union decks get to use Scramble. That's insane. But yeah, it's just like in that one deck. And honestly, if you just get like classic hero monsters and not the Omni hero stuff that are from the manga, that take just any elemental hero and just one monster for a specific attribute, that would be fine. Maybe. Depends on what other decks get, like how much power creep that the set will include, and I'm a little iffy about it, but it's a fun card, it's an iconic card, and it could be interesting, but just it is very powerful. And I would not be surprised if we do not get this. We have a few traps used by Jaden. These are not really impactful. I don't think you'd play these in a constructed deck, but maybe in like a Speed Duel, like a GX Box draft set maybe. If you play something like that, these could be kinda nice. So Hero Signal lets you summon an elemental hero from hand or deck if a monster you control is destroyed by battle. So it just turns your dying monster into a giant rat for heroes. Yeah, not too great. It doesn't suck really. It's fine, but not too interesting either. Then Hero Blast is actually like, well, okay, yeah, this could be good. You could definitely play like a more control-focused hero deck with this. You get to add an elemental hero normal monster from your graveyard to your hand, and then destroy any monster your opponent controls that has less or equal attack to that target. So it's recovery, that's also removal, and this does not target, which is really useful. And finally, Mirror Gate is an iconic trap used by Jaden in the anime. You get to switch control of your monster and an opponent's attacking monster, and then you do battle with those two monsters after they switch sides. And yeah, it's probably not amazing, to be honest, but it's Jaden card, it's an elemental hero card, and a lot of people would remember it from the anime. It's definitely not too strong. It's not too strong. And yeah, we talked about Neos. So, probably look at the extra deck first before I discuss the other stuff there that's used by Jaden, but not an elemental hero related thing. So, as we can see, there's 12 fusions here, and I think I skipped at least Shining Flame Wingman. And this is kind of problematic since we have a 6-card extra deck, so you can't use all of these, which means that they'll probably include 5 or 6. But that is enough if we get the right ones at least. I will say that Flame Wingman is the most obvious inclusion, as well as Thunder Giant, as these two are actually used a lot throughout different episodes. So I don't doubt these two will be in a deck like this. But then the rough part is to see what else gets in. There are some things that I think are more likely, like Tempest has been used a lot early on, Rampart Blaster, Mariner. These are fun in my opinion and do make sense, but then you'd probably want to add at least one Wild Heart fusion, like maybe Wild Edge, so you'd get used for both Wild Heart and Blade Edge. And on a similar reason, Dark Bright maybe, to have a good Necroshade fusion, or Necroid Shaman maybe. Yeah, I don't really know what would be the most logical thing to put in, but among these monsters, I think, are the cards that would get added. Some of them more likely and more iconic, but I really can't say besides Wingman and Thunder Giant. And finally, we have some actually iconic cards here, like Card Trooper. Card Trooper would be very powerful, and I think a lot of decks would at least try to use it at first. You get a 1900 beater that's also milling cards and drawing a card when it dies, so you get back card advantage and could just even wall up with this if you brick early on. And it's machine, so you get spellproof armor bonus. And yeah, if this gets in though, I don't think machine duplication should be in, even though it is used by some other characters. I just don't want to see Trooper with dupe, because, well, that's just too insane to mill 9 cards early on and get all of those 1900 bodies in one turn. Necrogardna pairs well with the Trooper, giving you a negate just by milling it. It's a good discard for Viral Despair, and you could definitely do a lot of stuff with Necrogardna. Dandelion is currently fine. There's really nothing too crazy you can do with it, but since, at least so far, Konami hasn't been too interested in banning cards in speed duels, they might just want to avoid this since eventually this card will get too strong with synchros and more tribute outlets and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of people know that it's strong, and it's currently banned in the TCG and the OCG, so it could be a future problem, even if not now. Spell Striker is a free special by banishing a spell and then a 600 direct attack. It's not too strong, it doesn't really relate to heroes, but you could use it as tribute fodder and maybe just a finishing poke, let's say. It's not too strong, but maybe it's just boring or not really related to anything. And Well, okay, I could have added Rottweiler with the Elemental Hero stuff. If it's destroyed, you'd get to add Elemental Hero and Poly from grave to hand. This might be too slow, I think, to be honest. Especially with like a skill card that does something like this instead. You might not want to play this. But on the other hand, it's iconic. You can add it. It's not too strong, so it's fine to add. And there's probably going to be a lot of filler among 200 cards anyway. Then Gallis the Star Beast is burn, and that's a little iffy. But it's a free special, but you only in a deck with like a bunch of monsters, because otherwise if you mill a spell with this, it gets destroyed, and it just went like -1 for no reason. Maybe too strong to be honest, but it's a good card and used by Jaden. Then there's the Wind Kuriboh stuff, so I'm 99% sure that this basic Wind Kuriboh is going to be in, even if it does get no other support, but it's just so important for Jaden's character, even if like the card isn't that related to his deck and overall strategy. And I don't know, maybe you'd use it in some sort of a stall deck, especially if you like cute stuff. And then the stuff that you'd use the Wind Kuriboh for specifically is Wind Kuriboh level 10 and Transcended Wings. So in your opponent's battle phase you can tribute a level 10 and just destroy all their attack monsters and inflict damage equal to their combined attack. So if you actually resolve this, it's probably going to be game. The problem here is that you have to use Transcendent Wings, and that means you discard 2 cards and send a Wind Kuriboh from the field to the grave. So that means Wind Kuriboh, Transcendent Wings, and 2 other cards. So that's, if you go first, that's your entire hand. So it's a huge resource waste, especially if it gets stopped later. And level 10 only activates during battle phase. So let's say you're forced to use Transcendent Wings, your opponent just won't go into battle phase until they can out-level 10. So it's a good surprise tactic, but you can play around it very easily. And finally, to make this a little more consistent though, you'd have the Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, which can add or special either the original Kuriboh or Wind Kuriboh. And this is also a tribute fodder, and honestly I think it would make sense. You could even like use it with the original Kuriboh and multiply for some funny shenanigans. And well, the last 2 cards, don't worry, I don't think these would get in, but they are Jaden cards, and you know, Konami's sometimes crazy. They just add silly cards into speed duels and power creep the format over and over again. But yeah, I don't think we have to worry about drawing a bunch of cards every turn with Mirage, or making stuff like Thousand Eyes Restrict super accessible with Metamorphosis. Well, they are Jaden cards, so maybe they could be in. Anyway, I hope this video didn't get too long. I tried to be somewhat quick, but also thoroughly explain to a necessary degree why I think some cards could be in and what problems they could have. There are other Jaden cards I didn't add here, but most of those missed this list because they're just bad. They suck so much that I just really don't see anyone even wanting to put them in their deck. And yeah, like some of these cards on this list aren't even super great. Everything else was just worse. Unless I missed something. I could have missed something that like I forgot Jaden used or skimmed over when looking through the list. But most likely, if it's like Hero Barrier, that sucks. Play Waboku. Never use Hero Barrier. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this. And I will try to get with the other videos soon enough. So again, please go check out my previous video if you haven't already. And if you want to see more of these prediction lists, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. and share it with your friends. But without further ado, yeah, that's it. Goodbye.